All right. Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. My name is DePaul Straub. I am the Assistant Director here for New Student and Transition Services at Mines and have the pleasure of hosting our Welcome webinar series this summer. Today, we are going to be talking about a lot of important things specifically surrounding exploring your major and career choices. And so we'll dive into that in just a second. But before we do, I just want to give a couple of housekeeping items. First, I want to give kind of a little bit of a disclosure that today is much more around exploring your major and career choices. So while we will kind of hint at the process of selecting your major and courses and things like that, this will not be the webinar dedicated specifically to selecting courses or registering or anything like that. And we will actually have that webinar a little later in our series. So I would encourage you to check that session out as well. But we will be talking about lots of great things that you should consider as you think about exploring your major and career choices while here at Minds. One quick thing, you'll see the chat is disabled for participants, but we will ask that you use that Q&A feature. So we will take questions throughout the webinar. We have a couple of people here in the back end that will help either answer those in chat, or we will dismiss that question and save it for our moderated panel at the end. So please know that if you do submit your question through that, we will see it, and I promise that we will do our very best to get to everybody's questions. But if you don't see it answered immediately in the chat, that's why is that we're just holding it for that moderated Q&A at the end. So with that being said, I think we'll go ahead and jump right on in. So I will introduce Bryce from the Career Center, and he will take it away from there.
Thanks, Paul. Hey everyone, my name is Bryce Schneider, he, him, his. I am a career and professional development advisor here at Minds, and thank you all for taking some time on this afternoon in June to join us. So for all of you and your families, welcome. We're excited to have you here. And today, like DePaul alluded to, going to be talking about exploring major and career choices. What we're going to be diving into today is I'm going to do a little bit of priming you with the next couple slides. We're going to talk through some of what our Career Center offers for what you can expect when you get here and some of the recommendations we have for your first year at Minds. I'm going to give you a little bit of an introduction to some of the career clusters of engineering and some of the majors that align with them, just for your general knowledge in case you aren't aware of these things already. And then I'm going to be introducing you to an exciting tool we're going to be giving you access to for all incoming students. It's a workbook that you're going to be able to use for some reflection time between now and when you need to confirm your intended major for this fall. So that's the kind of plan for today. And so if we move to the next slide, we'll get this going. Just want to quickly address what I might call the elephant in the room, right? You are moving quickly through these webinars. You're moving quickly towards starting college at Minds. Very exciting time for you. I'm very excited for you. And there may be some anxiety in that process, right? Your major confirmation when you need to select that intended major is only about a week away, right? Only about 9 days away on July 1st. So it's coming up fairly soon. And I want you to understand that it's easy to feel panicked in that amount of time. I don't want you to feel like, it's not enough time to make a choice. I want you to feel that, you've been doing a lot of reflecting already. A lot of what you might do at this point is some confirmation, some exploration. So we're going to do a reframe today. Let's put a pause on that pressure and really want you to view this opportunity as a launch pad, a time to really navigate this window you have effectively. And again, I'm going to be introducing a tool to help you with just that. So let's move on to that next slide. In that vein, I also want to acknowledge that, if you're unsure about the major selection that you're making, if you're just not sure about what to study in this world of STEM, science, and engineering, that's okay. I just want to acknowledge that uncertainty is a sign of intelligence. You're probably just considering all the possibilities, all the opportunities of what you could be getting into. And I'll bring this up multiple times, but at Minds, we really don't look at your major as a final destination, right? It's really the start of your journey. Careers change quickly these days. The world is moving really quickly. We've all seen that post-pandemic over the last 6 years, how quickly things have changed. And your major is a starting place for you to enter into that domain of thinking and to branch out into one of many different pathways. So you don't have to have your whole life mapped out today. You don't have to have it mapped out in the next week. You just need to take that first step. So I want to acknowledge that. Again, we're going to come back to this idea a little bit later. But for now, I want to spend some time introducing you to the Career Center, what we offer, and how we can support you once you're a student here at Mines. All right. So, really happy to be presenting on behalf of the Career Center today. Some of my colleagues are in the chat room as well. And when I describe, what our Career Center offers, I think of it in a couple of rings of support that we offer, right? That we offer support on many levels, and hopefully you seeing us here helps you understand that, we're not just here when you're at the end of your journey at Mines. We want to be involved right from the beginning, right? It's why we're part of this webinar series. It's why I'm here talking with you today. We want you to get involved in your own career and professional development before you even step foot on the campus, right? With being intentional about that major decision. And so, in terms of the structures and what we have available, there's many levels of support. On the digital side, we have a centralized career platform, DiggerNet, which you will be learning more about, right, as you move through admissions and get started at Mines, right, and getting access to that. And that's a place where you can book meetings with career advisors like myself, where you can explore companies in our database. You can search for jobs on a job board, right, and access additional resources to support your career and professional development. So a really great centralized tool. We've got an excellent website as well with a lot of information about the programming going on, but also including things like our Mind Strategy Guide, which is a great asynchronous workbook to help you learn about everything from, how do I structure a bullet point, to here's some tips for an interview. So we use that quite a bit in our meetings with students. We also have templates and guides to creating your resume online, which are very helpful for students to be able to understand that professional college level structure that we encourage. And like I alluded to earlier, we're going to have that major exploration workbook available for you to download as a PDF on our Career Center resource page. So on the digital side, a lot of asynchronous support to help you whether you're with an advisor or not. As we kind of move in on that circle, the community and event part of things, we have a lot happening on this campus. You'll learn very quickly, or if you've had a chance to visit us already, that there's a lot of happenings and goings on this campus, and your attention is going to be pulled in a lot of different directions based on your interests. So I want to center you around some of the things our Career Center office is offering. So things like our industry panels, we do 3 to 4 industry panels in conjunction with departments every semester. And those are an opportunity to mix it up and meet with professionals in the field, many of them alumni from Mines that graciously come back to speak with our students, talk about their careers, the time they've spent in them, and help give you that knowledge and understanding and those networks, right, for the kind of industries that interest you. Our premier event, our Career Days events, are across 2 days every fall and spring, where thousands of our students join up with hundreds of employers, and you're able to meet with, learn about, and pitch yourself to companies to both explore at a networking and hiring event, and get an opportunity to pursue internships and full-time jobs, along with completing next day interviews on campus. So really, really huge opportunity for our students. This is the largest career days in the Rocky Mountain region, and we're really proud of the work that our office puts into that and the kind of connections and results our students are getting from that. We also have a 1-credit career development course that we offer through our office, and I've been teaching this course for over 4 semesters. It's a great class, very practical. I think that the students really appreciate how much they get out of it they can apply right away. And it does fit into your degree plans under a wellness distribution credit. So it fits in with your degree, which is great. You'll see a lot of workshops offered on our campus as well by career advisors like myself, both in the classrooms and in the student center and other locations surrounding career days and afterwards. And then if we zoom in more on the individual level, I would love to meet with you individually once you're on the campus, right? We do one-on-one career advising, myself and the other career advisors. We also have peer advisors on our campus that can help support you. If you would prefer to talk with a peer, sometimes it gives you a chance to relate a little bit more. And they've often been in your exact same shoes, whether you're looking for your first internship or just trying to make your first resume. So want to let you know about all those tiers of support that we're offering. And next, we're going to go into a little bit of a roadmap for that first year that we envision for you. Okay, so here we are, middle of the summer. Fall semester's not even here. You're doing a lot of webinars with you and your families to get prepared for that transition to campus. On the side of career and professional development, right, this is a time for you to explore, to be thinking about things before you make that intended major decision, right? So that major confirmation is coming up by July 1st, where you'll submit that. And then, like DePaul talked about earlier, would encourage you to also attend that CASA and Registrar webinar coming up on the 16th. So you can get more information about, once you've got that intended major, how to appropriately register for those courses, right? And other information surrounding that. Once you're on campus, things are going to be super busy, and you're going to be catching up with academics, right? Your schedule, meeting new people. It's going to be a blur of activity. So I wanted to get a few things in front of you. Career Days comes up pretty quickly. That big premier event I was talking about that happens in this fall, September 15th and 16th. It's going to come up very quick as the semester starts. You're gonna just blink and it'll be there. And just want all of you as first year students to know you're invited, right? This isn't just for juniors and seniors. You're invited to be a part of this event. You're invited to go and talk with companies. We even have on the app we use, Career Fair Plus, we have companies indicate which companies want to speak with first year students and might be interested in hiring you into internship positions. So please come experience that event. If nothing else, just to get used to it and to understand, oh, this is what I really want to be at and how to use my time next year. And then we do also have our partners in CASA. We're going to be hosting a majors fair on November 4th. So this is a great time to confirm, learn about, and continue to explore majors. If you're looking around at that time, you can get a lot of great information from that event. So as you're transitioning to campus, keep us in mind for those bigger events. We do workshops leading to career days. We want to help you prepare for that and get the most out of it, whatever you need from it, and think about attending that CASA Majors Fair as well. As you're heading into the later half of the fall, you'll be continuing to kind of confirm that major, right, and that decision-making process with everything you've learned this summer and what you've experienced on campus. Consider enrolling in our spring section of Engineering Your Career Path. Again, 1 credit, and can be very beneficial for you leading into your sophomore year, right? I know this, oh my gosh, he's already talking about my sophomore year. It's so far away. It'll go so fast. It really will. And we want you to be prepared for that search in the fall of 2027, when you're really searching for that first big internship, research opportunity, whatever it might be. This is a course that, if you're in your second semester of your freshman year, can really help you prepare for that search opportunity. So keep us in mind when you're going to register later in this fall. And then as you head into that spring semester as a freshman, you've got your bearings after that first semester. Really would encourage you, come into our office, engage with us, meet with a career advisor, meet with a peer advisor, talk about your goals, talk about your professional documents. We can help give you advice and get you on track with the plans you have to help you get from A to B in your career and professional development. So just wanted to give you that introduction before we move forward on the Career Center and what we encourage in that first year. Next slide, please. Thank you. So today, right, we're kind of launching this 9-day launch pad for you. We're going to be going over those details today. This week, you're going to be getting into that workbook, that major exploration workbook, which I'll introduce in a little bit. And like I said, July 1st, you'll confirm that intended major, and then would encourage you to go and meet with CASA in their July 16th webinar. So just a reminder as we're continuing through all this information about these next couple of weeks. Next slide, please. All right. So what I want to do now is kind of set you up with, primed you with those first couple slides. We talked about the Career Center. Really love to help introduce over about the next, 10 minutes or so. I want to introduce you to the world of careers in engineering. I want to talk about some of the degree and career clusters that exist and where they overlap at Mines. So if we head to the next slide, you're going to see this kind of map of the engineering world. So take a kind of a moment to soak it in, check it out. This, it's really exciting for me. I wasn't a STEM student growing up, but it's really exciting. All the students I work with, the engineering world is full of possibilities. And something I always like to remind students of is, you're going to continue to develop that professional identity and your interests as you enter college and move through your experience, right? As you come to Mines, you're going to further deepen what you know about yourself and explore more things. And I don't want you to get hung up on just what job titles your major leads to. I don't want you to just be hung up on that. We want you to think a little bit broader, which is part of why I'm showing you this big map. When we do these industry panels, when we bring in professionals, 9 times out of 10, when they talk about their experience in the workplace, their paths to what they're doing now weren't completely linear, right? That's a very common theme. And even though they might be working in a certain industry of engineering, they talk about how much they work with other engineers in other sectors and other areas too, whether it's in their own company or another. And so having that wide body of knowledge can be such an asset to them. So with that kind of thinking, let's dive into some of the career clusters at Mines to give you a sense of what we offer and how it might match up to how you already think and the things that you're interested in. First cluster we're going to talk about here is civil, environmental, and geological engineering. So if you love geology and environmental science, if you like planning and seeing how cities work, if you're good with spatial thinking and reasoning, and concerned about sustainability, this might be something that interests you, right? We've got a number of different majors offered that coincide with this cluster. If we hit the next button here, should drop some of these down for you. Things like civil engineering, construction engineering, mining, environmental, geology, geological, and geophysics. And the industries that this is really lending itself to are going to be things like construction, infrastructure, urban planning, transportation, water resources, energy systems, and mining. The focus of this area is really building and protecting the physical world, whether it's bridges, roads, dams, systems, and sustainable cities. And if you're somebody who really likes the idea of seeing your work out in the real world, this might be a degree area, a career area that really interests you. So that's the first one. We're going to go through a couple more here. So jumping to our next career cluster, mechanical and aerospace engineering. So if you're somebody interested in physics, you were tinkering a lot coming through high school. You might have been part of FIRST Robotics, right? You might be building things with kits or Legos or 3D printers. If you like understanding how things move and want to apply theoretical concepts to applying them to actually practical systems, this might be something that interests you. We've got a number of different majors that align with this area, and I always take a moment to note that it's not just mechanical engineers that work in these spaces and sectors, right? Things like metallurgical and materials engineering, mechanical, of course, ceramics engineering, physics, and even design engineering. Some of the industries supported, right? Things like automotive, aerospace, and defense. Aerospace and defense, some pretty big sectors we see students going into from our college. Robotics and automation, manufacturing, space exploration, and also things like energy systems. But this is an incredibly broad area. But if it moves, has gears, and needs to be engineered for performance and reliability, engineers are that study these things are involved in that kind of work. So that's cluster number two as we move through a little bit of a tour of the degree and career areas of Mines. The next one is going to be electrical, computer, and systems engineering. So if you're interested in programming, right, circuits or gaming, if you're always wondering, right, how do on the software side, right, how do phones, computers, and smart devices work? If you're good with math, many of you are in many areas, but also interested in things like logic puzzles, right, and want to solve complex problems, this might be an area that appeals to you. You might have already been doing some of this in high school. I meet many students who are already doing things like programming, FIRST Robotics, so on and so forth. So you're getting a strong hint at where your skills and your talents lie already. Some of the majors that we offer at Mines that coincide with this, things like electrical engineering, computer science, computational applied mathematics, and brand new, our quantum systems engineering undergraduate degree. That's really exciting if you're interested in that world of quantum. Industries supported, things like tech and the electronics industries, telecommunications and networking, electrical utilities and smart grids, embedded systems, and cybersecurity software development, and AI. Right, the AI, just a small note there, right? No big deal. Just an up and coming thing I hear. Just kidding. Pretty big area, and we really think that our students are positioned to not only know how to use AI appropriately after they come through Mines, but also be part of the leaders that are developing those systems in the future. But if you're interested in the things that connect our world, whether it's microchips to satellites, and you want to be innovative and interested in data in these systems, there's a lot going on here that you could be a part of. And I'll make a quick note related to the last slide that, you see electrical engineering here. Well, I meet electrical engineers who are also going into the aerospace field. So keep that in mind as we're going through this. There's no one thing that leads to one path, and I'll make a reminder of that right at the end on another slide. So going into our fourth degree cluster, a little more on the science side, chemical, biomedical, and bioengineering fields. So if you are more on that hard sciences side, you're interested in chemistry and biology, you like being in labs, you like research, or you want to help people in terms of their health and sustainability, and you're curious about materials, cells, and molecules, this might be an area that's already caught your attention, right? For all of you AP Chem students and everything like that, AP Bio, this might be an area that really interests you. Majors that we offer at Mines related to this, those are going to be things like chemistry, chemical engineering, QBE, which is our quantitative bioscience and engineering program, biochemistry, and even things like petroleum engineering, right? It's going to support a wide variety of industries here, things like pharmaceuticals and the healthcare industry, biotech and genetic engineering, food and beverage production, and also touching on more of the chemicals, petroleum, and renewable fuels area as well. Again, not a completely exhaustive list, but hopefully giving you some ideas as you're considering the different types of things that appeal to you, right? So this cluster really brings together life and science, whether you're wanting to improve lives through medicine or solving those bigger global challenges of clean energy and safe food. So I mentioned just at the last slide that I was going to give you kind of a reminder that these things aren't all encompassing. And really this next slide is going to kind of pull it together. So that's a little bit of the introduction to these degree areas, some of which you're probably well aware of, some of which might be new to you, and especially want you to know some of those majors at Mines that apply to it. But all said with this caveat, right, that as you're thinking about majors and careers, a lot of us, my parents, right, grew up in a time where it's a little bit more of this traditional model on the left that your major kind of equated your professional destiny, right? That one major led towards a very specific linear path. And that is a bit more of a challenge these days because it really doesn't work that way. And it also creates this anxiety of making the right versus the wrong choice when it comes to your major and career. And what I'm really hoping you'll embrace, and as we get into talking about the workbook and what it's built on, I really want you to embrace this design thinking view that's on the right. That, a major is really a passport to get you started, to give you a baseline of that technical and problem solving ability. But your career story could branch out into any number of directions based on your interests, right? So one major can lead towards many different career stories. It's really up to you and how you spend your time at Minds and how you prototype those ideas while you're here that will determine the direction of your career. So I want you to just keep that in mind as we move into talking about the workbook, what it encompasses, and how it can support you in making these decisions. All right. So I talked about it several times. I'm going to spend, about 5 minutes here, 3 or 5 minutes, kind of going over this. Um, like I mentioned, and we'll put a link into the chat if one of my colleagues can. We're going to link you to our Career Center resource page, and on that page, you'll see some of the resources that I alluded to earlier in the presentation. And you also see this one, the major exploration workbook. And this workbook is going to be you can check it out online as a PDF and then download it. It's fillable. You can also print it out should you desire. Um, and here's what it's based on. It's really based on design thinking. Design thinking is a larger thinking process and design process. But in this instance, we're borrowing this framework from the Stanford D School of Design. A couple of gentlemen that saw how well design thinking fits into um, career and professional development. And here at Minds, we really think it's a great fit for engineering students because it's really all about thinking through, reflecting, and prototyping ideas about your future. And that's what this workbook is based off of. We've taken a couple of those concepts to give you something manageable that you can do within the next 7 to 9 days before making that intended major choice, but also give you that preview of how you can go deeper and reflect more even as you start at Minds as well. So some of the things that it's going to include is an introduction to talk more about design thinking. And then it's going to give you a chance to define your compass and really spend some time thinking through what are my views on work? How do I view the way that work fits in with my life? Is it just about money? Is there something more? Um, how does work for me? So, sometimes we don't even take the time to think through that and to understand that. And so this is just really gives you an excuse to encounter some of those questions. We're going to move you into having a chance to look at some of the ways you spend your energy, right? Thinking about peak times in high school or your last academic experience, and really kind of tracking out what did you do in that week? What gave you energy? What took it away? Because we want you thinking about the kind of activities and the ways that it's important to you and gives you energy. Because we want you to be having an experience at Minds where you're able to dive into those things that give you energy. Are there going to be things that take energy away? You betcha. It's just a part of working, it's a part of being in school. But if we can get you more of those things that you care about and that give you energy, that's going to set you up for a great experience and it's going to help you know what you're looking for in the workplace as well. And finally, we have from design thinking, we have an Odyssey planning tool that's going to encourage you to build 3 different versions of what the next 4 to 5 years of your life could look like, right? So over your time in college and that very next year getting out of college, right about there, it's going to encourage you to think through, what are you already planning to do? What's something you would do if option number one didn't exist? And what is kind of like the wild card or dream that you've never allowed yourself to go out for? What would that be? This is a great exercise that can really start help you think down the road about where things lead and how you see yourself moving through your mind's experience. And then once you go through that design thinking process, we ground it at the end by giving you a chance to use the resources and links within that workbook and doing a little bit more research on specific majors that you've prototyped through that planning, and really trying to confirm your intended major choices. So it's been really fun for me to put this together for you. I hope that you really get a lot of value out of it. Use what you need from it, and if you can commit to getting through the whole thing, that would be great. I think it's just going to arm you with more information and confirmation of what you already know. And for those of you that are still unsure and are figuring it out, it's going to help you go deeper into understanding what's important to you in this process. So, really excited for you to get a chance to use that tool as you move forward in heading towards that July 1st intended major date. All right. So as we're kind of getting through and getting close to wrapping up for today, this next slide is just really a reminder of what success looks like in this process as you take the things that you've thought about and learned today and move forward over the next week. I really want you to be thinking about how do you move from what is the right answer, right? That traditional view we looked at, the right versus wrong in terms of a major. How do you go from that thinking to, I'm really setting up a plan to build my future? And this choice that I'm making, I just have to make the next best choice in this moment, right? So that's what I really would encourage as success in this process. It's not about getting it right, it's just about making the next best choice that you can with the information you have. You're going to have a lot more time to find those guiding rails as you move through your experience at Minds. And remember, the Career Center is going to be here to help support you as you do that. So, little bit as we move into the next slide, just a quick call to action here. Encourage you to download using that link. Download that major exploration workbook so you can be using time to reflect and complete those workbook exercises this week. And then again, remember to submit your intended major by the deadline, July 1st, and attend the CASA webinar on July 16th. So just some quick housekeeping items there. As we move towards the very end of the presentation, I mean, the last thing that I would mention to you is just really encourage you to trust yourself, trust the process, and know that there's going to be so much support for you once you get here to Minds. It's a great institution, and the Career Center and all of the student life offices that you're getting introduced to over this welcome webinar series, we're all here to help support you. We've all been there. We've all been to college. We've all seen friends and family go through this experience and this really difficult and beautiful transition you're going to be working through. But we're here. We're here to support. So please keep us in mind. Keep the Career Center in mind for anything related to your career and professional development as you step onto our campus. We just want to help. So that is just about what I have for you today. I know that some of you may have put some questions into the Q&A. I'll let DePaul jump on here as we work through facilitating that with some of the time we have remaining.
Yeah, thanks so much for this great information, Bryce. We are going to move into our Q&A. So I see people continuing to submit questions in the Q&A feature. So please continue to do that. But we're going to kind of work our way through some of those questions. So give me just a second to get those pulled up. All right. So Bryce, I know we talked a lot to kind of like the first year experience, which certainly a lot of that is applicable to our transfer students as well. But we got a question specifically around how can a student prepare for career days if they're transferring in as a junior? But I think that does open a wider conversation then of like if you want to provide any advice specifically for like transfer students and how this process might be a little bit different for them.
Yeah, that's a great question, and I really love working with the transfer students that come to Minds. I think that I've done some work with the community colleges that support Minds Academy. And here's what I really encourage if you're stepping on campus, right, transferring in right around like a junior in credits, right, or class coming to Minds is what's different for you as a transfer student is your window of time to complete an internship. I mean, that's kind of the biggest thing that I see from the career and professional development perspective. So, as you're stepping onto our campus, you're still going to be doing those things I mentioned in that first year experience. Like, I still think, that taking CSM 250 in that fall or spring semester can matter for you. I still think you should attend career days, right? Of course. But I would encourage you to step into our Career Center office earlier in your semester. You're going to be acclimating to a lot of things on the campus, same as a traditional first year student from high school. But because you're going to have less time there, we want to make sure you're armed with getting your professional documents and materials ready and understanding how to launch that internship search as quickly as possible and to be effective in it with the resources we have at Mind. So that's kind of the biggest thing that I mentioned to transfer students is you're going to have a little more experience. You're going to probably have more stuff on your resume. Come in and let us help kind of provide those guiding pieces for you so that you can move through that semester smoothly and really be targeting that summer internship right out of the gate.
Awesome. Thank you. And that actually brings up a really great point. And we had a question specifically around internships and how like those relate to career days, if at all. And then also, are there both summer and school year internships available?
Yeah, great questions. I'll target the first half of that first. Yeah, I mean, Career Days, again, like I mentioned, is a premier event for you to connect with employers. It's, Minds is really using its influence to bring them here to Minds and to allow you to connect with them and talk with them. You're going to be able to meet with recruiters. You're going to be able to meet with alumni who are in engineering roles and representing companies. We provide next day interview opportunities for the companies that are interested in having next day interviews right on our campus. So we really bring so much of it to you that it becomes a really key experience for pursuing an internship or full time job. And absolutely, we have many students that are able to use career days as a starting place for obtaining those internships. So I always kind of joke with students that the expectation is you're not going to walk into career days and walk out with an internship the same day, but you're going to walk into career days, you're going to give out resumes, pitch yourself, and you could have an interview the next day. And then you could be starting that process, right, in the coming weeks and months to be finalizing gaining an internship opportunity or a full-time job opportunity. That recruitment cycle in engineering and science really starts in the fall for those that are for those companies that are hiring students for summer roles, whether it's full-time or internship. So that this fall of 2026, right, they'll be recruiting for summer of 2027. So hopefully that helps answers that first part. If not, let me know in the Q&A and I can go into more detail. I'm sorry, DePaul, remind me the other half of that question. I know there's one more part.
Yeah, I was kind of talking about summer internships versus like full year or like during
Oh,
the school
sure.
year internships.
Yeah. Well, you'll quickly find out that you're going to be quite busy as a student at Minds. And so summer does become kind of the probably the most opportune moment to complete internships with companies. And many companies are set up traditionally that way to offer summer internships. That said, there are other opportunities, things like co-ops, which is a little more specific to allowing you to go work with an employer during what would be a traditional fall or spring semester over a 5 to 6 month period, right? So there are some more unique setups that would allow you to complete something like a co-op or an internship over the fall or spring. Um, I wouldn't say that, I would say the vast majority of students still pursue those internships in the summer. If you're looking for an alternative to that, I recommend you come speak with a career advisor individually in the Career Center. We can talk more about co-ops and we can look more into like why you're looking in the fall and spring and how this could work for you in terms of your time at Mines.
Awesome. Thanks, Bryce. Okay, so I do see some questions on here about how you submit your intended major. So I just wanted to address that super quick because this is one that I actually do mostly know the answer to. So for your intended major confirmation form that is coming up, that will be done through your admissions portal. So on your online admissions portal, you have your next steps checklist, and in there you will see a step about how to do that. We do also have a question about if you've already submitted that, can you change that ahead of that? So between July 1st and Hell of a Welcome, you cannot change that as schedules will be being made. But there will be drop-in hours during Hell of a Welcome to help with some of that as well. But prior to July 1st, you should be able to complete that form and change that. And if you have any issues, I think admissions would be the best one to reach out to for that one, but you can find that in your online admissions checklist. Okay, another question for you, Bryce, going back to the topic of internships. Is it typical or possible to get an internship after your first year at Mines?
It's a great question. I don't have like the data in front of me to answer with complete certainty. But I can share anecdotally that there certainly are freshmen who obtain internships the summer after their freshman year. I always kind of explain to students that, it's not a requirement, right? Your freshman year, you're really acclimating to college, acclimating to Mines, especially as an engineering school. And that's why on that kind of roadmap that I showed you for career and professional development, it's more of like we want to set you up to have a solid foundation and plan in terms of your career and professional development as you head into that sophomore year, where the summer of your sophomore year is kind of the bigger target, and summer of junior year as well for internships or research. Um, but yeah, there are students who feel they have the experience and really want to get going with something soon. And we're happy to accommodate and work with those students. Like I mentioned during career days, we ask the companies which one of them are interested in having freshmen as interns, which one of them would like to speak with freshmen so that we can let you know who they are and you can go talk with them. You can work with career advisors to get ahead on your internship search. You can use our workshops to update your professional documents and know how to like be prepared going into an interview. So I want to make it clear it's not something that's required of you as a freshman student, but we're more than happy to accommodate you if that's your goal. And I do see the students who are successful in that are the ones who are able to really dive into that process while still maintaining their academics, which I think can be a challenge freshman year as you adjust. But if you're able to handle that, then yes, you can absolutely do it.
Awesome, thank you. We got another question about how soon a student can set up a meeting with the Career Center. So, do they need to wait until the school year starts? Would appointments be scheduled online? Could they schedule one potentially over the summer as they look to start here at Mines? Kind of what do you recommend in terms of the timeline there?
Yeah, I mean, kind of like what I mentioned in that timeline that I was referring to earlier, we have a lot of workshops and support available that are going to cover probably a majority of some of the early questions you might have as a student, like, how to set up those internship searches, how to utilize career days, prepare for it, how to get professional documents like resumes and cover letters ready, how to do those things. We're going to have a lot of workshops right before career days that address that. So that resource is going to be there for you. I think second semester freshman year is a great time to connect with us. I do think the opportunities, as far as I'm aware, for you to connect with us before you start are going to be limited. You're going to have a lot of other webinars and stuff going on. And while I agree that I'm glad that you think career and professional development is very important, I agree too. There's going to be time for that. There really is for you to dive into that process on the career side. You're going to need access to DiggerNet before you're able to book an appointment with a career advisor, and that's usually happening later in your process as you're getting kind of onboarded at the institution. 100%, if you want to meet with us in that first semester, we are available. We're going to offer drop-in hours 4 days a week that don't require an appointment once the school year starts. Um, Things early in the semester are more limited, which is why we offer those workshops. But I'd say, especially post career days, it's not uncommon for me to meet even with freshmen who are like, okay, I went to career days, just want to kind of get a jump on things and understand, how I can be setting myself up in my search throughout the rest of the fall.
Awesome. Um, I have a question for you. We'll leave it open for a couple more minutes if people have any additional questions. But Bryce, my question for you would be, thinking about all of the different things that you mentioned that the Career Center does. Obviously, coming in as a first year, you have a lot going on, a lot of things happening. You're kind of just getting adjusted. So, if you were to say your top three things that you would recommend a first year student do in the career and professional development like space during their first year, what would those three things be?
Yeah, thanks for the question. Some of those were related to the roadmap I shared earlier with some of the, kind of those dates and events relating to it, right? Number one is again, I just want you to come here and acclimate to Minds on the career side and career and major, right? I'll kind of put those together because they're going to be mixed together as you get started. I want you to, as you move through that, this workbook and choosing that intended major for July 1st. Once you get started at Minds, I want you to be talking with people, with classmates, noticing how your classes are going, seeing what kind of clubs and things you can get involved with that relate to your interest. I really want you to start leaning in and prototyping your interests and seeing what really draws your attention. So, number one is just pay attention. Pay attention to what you're going through. It can sometimes feel challenging when things are moving so quickly and you're getting used to so many new things. Pay attention to what interests you. I think that really matters a lot in terms of your career and professional development early on. Um, Number two, I recommend that you take some time to attend career days. I think that it's a really big event. I mean, for me, it's super exciting. I get energized by being with and around people, so I love it. But I would encourage you to attend to kind of see what it's all about, to see how your peers are pitching themselves, to learn about companies, and to really kind of get drawn into what Minds is all about in terms of that intersection of professionalism and career development. So that's the other thing I would recommend. Number three is in your freshman year, come by the Career Center. We want to talk with you. We want to get to know you. And we want to help you kind of get things started as you're processing what interests you, as you're understanding more about yourself and have questions about pursuing pathways. Come and talk with us, right? Engage with us in the Career Center. We're happy to meet with you. So, those are kind of my top three. Pay attention and explore, attend those events like career days, and come into the Career Center and chat with a peer advisor or professional development advisor.
Awesome. Well, Bryce, I just want to thank you again for coming and sharing all this information. This is the information for you all to reach out if you have any other questions related to any of this. Really quickly, before we wrap up, I just want to provide a couple reminders. So be sure to join us for the rest of our welcome webinar series throughout the summer. We're going to take a 1 week break off for July 4th, and then we'll be back at it on Wednesday, July 8th at 5 o'clock Mountain Time. And that will feature financial aid and the bursar's office as we talk about paying for college. So, obviously, a really important one there as well. Also, join us for our first year course registration and advising webinar with CASA and the registrar. That is going to be July 16th at 4 o'clock Mountain Time. Transfer students, if you missed the one for your course registration and advising, that recording is available on our website. So definitely recommend checking that out as well. Also, make sure that you are completing your Order Your Next Steps checklist in your admissions portal. I know we talked about that with the confirming your major form. Also, the Hell of Welcome form, some of you still owe us that. That was due this last Friday, so just a quick plug from the Nest team. If you could fill that out as soon as possible, we would greatly appreciate that. But make sure to be completing those steps kind of throughout the summer. And then finally, make sure you check your Minds email throughout the summer as well. You'll receive lots of important information, not only from our office, but from several other campus partners as well. So we want to make sure that you have everything you need there. But with that being said, we will go ahead and wrap up for today. Thank you all so much for joining us. Bryce, thank you again for presenting all of this great content. And we will see you all next time. Thanks so much.